begin our new lesson, let us going to sing a science song. Are you ready? Ready for the song in 1 or 2 or 3. Listen properly, science is ready. Lessons are all new, all you have to do. Listen to your teacher to learn something new. Hey, science time, only science time. You ready? It's my fun, more activities. Hey, science time, only science time. I like it, I love my teacher too. Ready for the song in 1 or 2 or 3. Listen properly, science is ready. Lessons are all new, all you have to do. Listen to your teacher to learn something new. Hey, science time, only science time. You ready? It's my fun, more activities. Hey, science time, only science time. I like it, I love my teacher too. So, do you like our song? Today, children, we're going to read the following words, and you're going to read after me. Say weathering. Weathering. Very good. Next, erosion. Erosion. Next, smoothening. Smoothening. Next, borrowing. Borrowing. Digging. Digging. Next, mining. Mining. Next, breeze. Breeze. Roots. Roots. Deposition. Deposition. So this time, let's read them all together. Let's say weathering, erosion, smoothening, borrowing, digging, mining, breeze, roots, deposition. Thank you very much. Based from what we have discussed yesterday, what is weathering? Weathering is the broken down of rocks by natural forces or chemical components into sediments. Now, let us identify the 4 types of weathering. Blank weathering takes place when rocks are broken without any changes in the chemical nature of the rocks. What type of weathering is that? What's the answer? Alright, it's mechanical weathering. Number 2. Blank weathering takes place when rocks are broken with changes in the chemical nature of the rocks. What type of weathering is that? Excellent! It's chemical weathering. Next, number 3. Blank weathering is a type of weathering that is caused by living organisms. What type of weathering is that? Correct! Biotic weathering. The last, blank weathering is a type of weathering that is caused by non-living things. What type of weathering? Perfect! Abiotic weathering. Congratulations, children! Right now, children, we will have a chant. Do you like a chant? So the chant goes like this. Break, move, drop. Break, move, drop. All of these processes happen to rock. Break, move, drop. Weathering breaks and erosion takes, and when erosion stops, deposition drops. Break, move, drop. So this time we will have an action to our chant. So the action goes like this. Break, move, drop. Break, move, drop. All of these processes happen to rock. Break, move, drop. Weathering breaks and erosion takes, and when erosion stops, deposition drops. Break, move, drop. So, what does the chant all about? It's all about... Very good, children. It's all about weathering, erosion, and deposition. When we say erosion occurs when pieces of rock and soil called sediments are carried from one place to another. As you can see on the river, it's brown because of sediments that comes from upstream. And when we say deposition, it's the process of sediments, soils, and minerals being dropped and deposited in a new place. So what processes happen to the rock? The rocks may break, move, or drop. And when does the breaking of rock happen? The breaking of rock happens during weathering. So today, let us find out what causes the rocks to break. So, for our new lesson for today, we are going to identify the agents of weathering of rocks. Again, let us read this all together. Identify the agents of weathering of rocks. Right now, I'm going to show you pictures that you'll need to describe and identify, and then answer the following questions right after. Can you describe what you have seen on the picture? Yes, that's right. There's a rock and a tree. What happens to the rock? The rock breaks and divided into two because there's a trunk of a tree and its roots that makes the rock broken, right? Because of its roots. So, what causes this rock to break? What causes this rock to break? It breaks because of the roots of the tree. Next picture. What does this animal doing? The animal is digging or burrowing. When we say burrow, it means a hole or excavation in the ground made by an animal, such as a rabbit for shelter and habitation. What do you think would happen when animals keep on burrowing and digging? Correct! If the animals keep on burrowing and digging, the rocks may break and the soil may erode. So, what causes these rocks to break? That's right! What causes these rocks to break? Because of animals that keep on burrowing and digging. Next, what activity is shown in the picture? That's right. The people doing mining. Who causes the destruction or breaking of rocks? Of course, human beings. They are responsible in the destruction or the breaking of rocks because of mining. What can you see in the picture? Alright, there's a picture of rocks. Rocks that first collects water, and the water collects in rock crack. Number 2, it shows water freezes and expands, forcing crack to widen. And number 3, ice thaws, contracts, and water gets deeper into cracks again. Number 4, repeated expansion and contraction causes further cracks till rock splits. So that's why the rocks were broken. So what happens to the rock in the end? That's right. The rocks break. The rocks weathered. And what causes the rock to weather? Very good. The rock weathered because of water. Because of water that collects in rock crack. Is the rock structure in the picture strong and sturdy? What do you think would happen when a strong wind strikes the rock? Alright, it causes the rock to weather because of strong wind or breeze that strikes the rock. So children, what are the agents that causes the rock to break? On the first picture, what causes the rock to break? Yes, that's true. It's because of the roots of the plants. To know more about this, let's watch this video.
Plants. Plants can grow in cracks in rocks. As the plant grows, the roots of the plant grow too, making the crack bigger and bigger until...
On the second picture, what causes the rock to break? It's because of the burrowing and digging of animals. Third picture, it's because of mining. Because of mining by the human beings. Fourth picture shows the rock breaks because of water.
Water. Some of these agents can cause change physically. That is, just by the force of contacting the rock. Water, in all its forms, is the most powerful agent. The physical force of water and ice can break rocks and wear away their surfaces. When water freezes in cracks in rocks, it expands. It gets bigger. The force of expanding water is so great it can actually split rock apart. You might have discovered this yourself if you've ever frozen a water bottle to take to school. That bottle is full of water, all the way to the top. It's standing nicely in the freezer. You think, I can put it on my desk tomorrow and let it melt. I'll have cold water all day long. The next morning, though, what's happened? The bottle won't stand up. The frozen water has gotten bigger. It has expanded and pushed out the bottom of the bottle. It's no longer flat. The freezing action of water can expand the cracks in rocks and break them up. The flowing action of water can weather rock too. It slowly wears the surface of rocks away. This stream bottom has been worn smooth. And when water flows over rocks, it not only causes a physical change, it can cause a change inside the rock to the different materials that make up the rock. This is called a chemical change. Let's see what water with a little vinegar, a weak acid from plants, can do to this soft rock called soapstone. After just a few minutes, you can begin to see particles in the water. Let's wait just a little longer. Now look, parts of this soft rock have dissolved. Why did some of the rock wash away here and some of it stay there? Water caused a chemical change. It was able to dissolve some of the material in the rock, while other parts did not dissolve. We saw how water can get into cracks in rocks, freeze, expand, and break rocks down.
In this picture, what causes these rocks to break? It caused by strong wind or strong breeze.
Wind. This landform in Utah may have been smooth at one time. Desert winds carrying sand have weathered this surface. These workmen are getting ready to paint this truck. They're using this machine that blows air and sand to blast away the old paint. It's called a sandblaster. Look what sand and wind can do to a soft surface like wood in just a few minutes. Just like that sandblaster, over time, wind can weather away the surface of landforms, changing the way they look.
What do we call to the things or forces that cause rocks to break? We call them agents of weathering of rocks. To know more about weathering of rocks, let's watch this.
How do weathering and erosion shape Earth's surface? What can break a boulder? The process of rock breaking apart is called weathering. Many things cause weathering, such as gravity, flowing water, blowing sand, living things, wind, rain, and chemicals. Rocks on the move. Weathering is the beginning of a series of changes that often occurs to rocks on Earth's surface. The process of moving weathered rock from one place to another is called erosion. Moving water is one of the most common causes of erosion. Fast-moving water and gravity can cause rocks to move downhill. As the water in a river slows down, it has less energy and cannot move the largest rocks and pebbles. The dropping of weathered rock by wind or moving water is known as deposition. Slow-moving water has less energy than fast-moving water has. Thus, as water in a river continues to slow down, more bits of weathered rock are dropped. Slow-moving water carries only very small pieces of rock, such as sand and silt, called sediment. When rivers reach the ocean, they slow down even more and sediment is dropped. Over time, the sediment forms a landform called a delta. Blowing in the wind. A landform is a natural land shape or feature. Weathering and erosion by wind change landforms. Wind can carry sediment from place to place. When wind deposits a lot of sand in one area, sand dunes form. Wind sweeps up one side of a dune and lifts sand from its surface. Gravity pulls the sand down the other slope. Blowing sediment can also cause changes to other landforms as particles collide with exposed rock to form interesting shapes. For instance, mushroom rocks and arches are formed by water but shaped by the wind. Eventually, gravity pulls these formations down. Ice carvings. Huge sheets of ice are called glaciers and are found in very cold places. Gravity pulls glaciers downhill, picking up soil, rocks, and boulders beneath the glacier and pushing boulders against the ground below. When the glacier melts, the rock and sediment it carried downhill drop out and form different land features, including hills called moraines. A huge glacier once covered most of Canada and the northern United States. The ice cut deep grooves that formed the Great Lakes. Can waves cut caves? Moving water causes weathering and erosion by picking up sediment, which scrapes against the bottom and sides of the riverbed. This carves out deep canyons, which are gorges between cliffs of rock. Deposits of sediment can change the direction of river water. Curves in a river's path can produce different landforms. Ocean waves weather cliffs, eroding pieces of rock and depositing them into new places, forming caves in shoreline cliffs. The sediment from eroding shorelines becomes fine sand, and beaches are formed at the water's edge. Do plants protect soil? In the early 1900s, families in the Central Plains of the United States made a living farming land where natural grasses once grew. In between crop seasons, loose soil was left exposed to wind. During the 1930s, the plains experienced severe drought. The soil turned to fine, dry dust, and high winds caused giant dust storms. These dust storms stripped away much of the soil that made the region good for farming. Families moved away to find other ways to survive. They suffered hard times. The region became known as the Dust Bowl. The Dust Bowl teaches a valuable lesson about erosion problems caused by removing all the plants from an area. Now farmers plant different crops at different times to keep soil covered year-round. Fences and lines of trees are planted to break the wind, and plants are added to hillsides to protect soil from water erosion and wind.
So there you can see from the video the different agents of weathering that causes the rock to break. They even have good and bad effects to our environment. So children, what are the agents of weathering? So the agents of weathering are the roots of plants, the burrowing and digging of animals, the activities of human like mining, the water, the formation of ice from other countries, and the strong wind or strong breeze. So there were 5 agents of weathering. Who among you here have experienced any kind of typhoon? Have you ever experienced flood or landslide? This time, I would like to show you a picture that maybe you happen to experience it, but this is not to scare you, but also to let you see the reality of this world. Okay, what is happening around us, the calamities that are happening around us. So in this picture, you can see that big rocks, small rocks, and soil are falling down the road, right? What do we call this activity? It's called erosion. Erosion is the effect of the weathering of rocks into smaller pieces. This is one of the bad effects of weathering of rocks in our environment, that sometimes may be the cause of the loss of the lives of our loved ones, right? Did you know that even the activities that we usually do, like playing rocks, running around, like these children, and of course building houses or bridges, or even using rocks or small stones or soil in building houses and establishments, causes rock to break and to weather. As a grade 5 learner, how can you help lessen, if not prevent, the effects of weathering of rocks? Kindly write down your answers on your journal. So this time, we will have a short quiz. Direction. Identify the agents of weathering based from the pictures given below. Choose only the letter of your answer from the choices inside the box. The choices are A. Water, B. Wind, C. Human, D. Plants, E. Animals. So let's check if you answered it correctly. Number 1, D, plants. Number 2, B, wind. Number 3, C, human. Number 4, E, animals. And number 5, A, water. So children, this ends our lesson for today, and see you in the next topic.